Have you ever wondered why SpongeBob declined after Season 3? Between Season 3 and Season 4, something devastating happened to SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob went from being a clever, inquisitive individual to a bumbling doofus who constantly makes irrational and dumb decisions. Some have pointed out to the Season 3 episode Squilliam Returns that caused this mess, claiming he suffered amnesia at the hands of Squidward tentacles. Others have proposed a more horrifying theory that SpongeBob SquarePants passed away in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, giving birth to an identical-looking offspring, illustrating the differences in his behavior from Season 4 onward. Only one answer holds true. Let's figure out the strange case of the sponge that never returned. In Season 1, we first met the beloved Sponge. He was more rational, mature, clever, and intelligent most of the time. He demonstrated prudence through his various habits such as reading books and playing instruments. SpongeBob did act stupid in the earlier seasons, but he stayed within his limits. You can say he acts stupid responsibly, which is a sign of intelligence because he knows when to push the brakes. In fact, I believe SpongeBob is much smarter than humans in the 21st century. In the episode Secret Box, SpongeBob attempted to convince Patrick to share his dirty little secret. He used Aristotle's 3 pillars of persuasion, including ethos, where he displayed his confidence about knowing everything about secrets.
It's okay, Patrick. I know all about secrets.
Pathos, the idea of using emotions to persuade someone.
We're supposed to be friends forever.
And Logos, where he used logic to explain Patrick that the best part of a secret is secretly telling someone your secret.
The best thing about a secret is secretly telling someone your secret, thereby secretly adding another secret to their secret collection of secrets.
And there are countless examples of this intelligence in other episodes as well. SpongeBob has exhibited more advanced problem-solving skills in the earlier seasons. Rock Bottom is another episode where SpongeBob was facing a tough predicament. Stranded in a contaminated town he's never seen before. Darkness everywhere and no way to get out. Past SpongeBob had something that the present SpongeBob lacked, which was the ability to think outside the box and hold his own. Instead of freaking out, he tried several hacks to somehow board the bus, such as transforming into the bench or using a cardboard cutout to fool the driver. In contrast, the SpongeBob we have today is very dim-witted. Instead of using logic to solve a problem, he uses emotions, which are depicted through screaming, crying, or not paying attention to a task. SpongeBob's intelligence also seeped its way through Season 3, but Season 4 is when things took a turning point. SpongeBob seemed more juvenile and dramatic, depicted by his weird behavior. The episode Fear of a Krabby Patty was the first installment in the season. It hasn't even been a minute in and he seemed a bit off. He was outright deranged to the point where everything around him morphed into a giant Krabby Patty. You might take a backseat and blame this behavior on his lack of sleep. And I was with you until I realized he is a sponge. Sponges do not require sleep to operate. I know it is a TV show and all these sea critters have human characteristics such as arms and legs and can talk, but let's think this through a little bit. Squidward, who was just as sleep deprived as SpongeBob, was acting pretty normal. I mean, he looked like he was gonna melt like a marshmallow, but he was fine. But there's conflicting evidence. Why did SpongeBob feel all better after getting sleep? I don't know, you expect me to find out? Oh yeah, that's my job. I think in actuality, the moment he woke up, it was probably part of a hallucination due to his brain injury. Maybe instead of waking up from a dream, he woke up in his dream and dreamt of being normal. There are so many different possibilities to this, but considering SpongeBob acts strange in future episodes, it is highly unlikely that this behavior is a one-off. Something before this episode must have caused his trauma, and boy, I think I found that episode. Season 3, Episode 8, Squilliam Returns is a hidden gem we've been looking for. So in this episode, Squidward is in desperate need of transforming the Krusty Krab into a 5-star restaurant to flaunt to Squilliam. In the process, he was in desperate need of SpongeBob to remodel the restaurant. He forces SpongeBob to read a book titled How to Become a Waiter in Less Than 20 Minutes. And this is where things go downhill. The book appeared to have at least 1,000 pages on it, which should take the average reader over 24 hours considering they don't eat, sleep, or take a fat piss. Considering SpongeBob had a couple of minutes to read this book, you'd imagine he would be burnt out. And that is exactly what happened. He even tells this to Squidward.
My brain is full to bursting. If I have to memorize a single order, I think I'm gonna explode!
My brain is full to bursting. If I have to memorize a single order, I think I'm gonna explode. And he is indeed not exaggerating. Look at his appearance. Now look at his brain pulsating. He is not in the condition to move unless it's to the ER bed. Right after, Squidward tells SpongeBob to empty his mind of everything that doesn't have to do with fine dining and breathing.
I want you to empty your mind. Empty your mind of everything that doesn't have to do with fine dining and breathing.
Unfortunately, he didn't read between the lines because he literally emptied the recesses of his mind. This allowed SpongeBob to become a fully functional waiter until he was asked about his name. Wonderful. This small request was solely responsible for causing a catastrophe in his brain. The imagery showed his brain on fire and later cracked into 2 pieces. All of this caused SpongeBob to go haywire, destroying anything and everything in his way. This is what resulted in SpongeBob's amnesia, another word for memory loss. There's something very interesting about this scene that I never really noticed. See the SpongeBob that questioned the logic of the TV show?
We don't even exist. We're just a clever visual metaphor used to personify the abstract concept of thought.
How exactly does he know that they are all clever visual metaphors used to personify the abstract concept of thought? Perhaps he is the brains of the entire community. And notice how the boss with the green hat threatened to fire the clever SpongeBob. Maybe the boss was eventually so fed up by the clever SpongeBob that he terminated him. Without clever SpongeBob, everyone in the brain couldn't keep their composure, which led to the destruction of SpongeBob's brain. So you might be thinking, if SpongeBob really got amnesia, why was he completely normal for the rest of Season 3? It's because the symptoms of amnesia take time to develop. I mean, this is what, the 8th installment of the season? So I guess the symptoms must have gradually picked up episode by episode. There are still a couple of points I need to bring up to win this argument. The first one being the strange case of SpongeBob's boating history. SpongeBob has been trying to get his boating license for quite a while now. He tries and tries and tries and eventually fails his test yet again. In the episode Mrs. Puff, You're Fired, it was revealed that SpongeBob has failed his test 1,258,056 times.
For we've noticed there have been an unusually large amount of failings from this classroom. He's failed 1,258,056 times.
The only way this number would be possible is if SpongeBob's bad memory has caused him to fail his test. This could probably explain why SpongeBob keeps repeating the same exact test. He does not remember his past attempts of the boating test, supporting the statement of forgetting anything that doesn't relate to fine dining and breathing. Some of you might respond with, if SpongeBob really lost his memory, why does he still remember things like his name, friends, and hobbies? Let me offer an explanation. SpongeBob's name is frequently called out, and his memory is also reinforced by his name tag, kinda like in the episode Missing Identity. In this episode, SpongeBob was on a journey to locate his missing name tag. Perhaps the reason behind his paranoia is that he is afraid that without the name tag to reinforce his memory, he could potentially forget everything due to amnesia. When it comes to reminding SpongeBob of his friends and hobbies, Patrick must have played a role in refreshing his memory by assisting him in everyday things like jellyfishing, how to serve Krabby Patties, and even performing stupid antics to piss off Squidward. For further proof, pay attention to Patrick's reaction to SpongeBob losing his name tag.
You lost your name tag?
Why on earth would Patrick be that concerned? If your friend lost something small and trivial, would you react the same way Patrick did? Probably not. Patrick knows the consequences of SpongeBob losing his name tag. He will eventually forget everything, and Patrick would have to start over the process of teaching SpongeBob each and everything. Think of SpongeBob like an infant. When a baby's born, its parents are always teaching it things like how to feed themselves or say words. Similarly, SpongeBob learned the world around him through exploration and imitation. As cool as it sounds that SpongeBob changed in Season 4 due to amnesia, there might be a better way to explain why SpongeBob wasn't the same. What if SpongeBob didn't have amnesia all along? What if he died during the SpongeBob movie and was replaced by a doppelganger? This theory wouldn't have been so robust without talking about the 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie was a 2004 project directed by Steven Hillenburg with the main intention to end off the show by killing SpongeBob. I mean, we had the Krusty Krab 2, Plankton going to jail, and SpongeBob finally getting the manager role, all alluding to a finale. But sequentially, Season 4 was published, probably because Nickelodeon did Steven Hillenburg dirty. But Season 4 is when we noticed significant changes in SpongeBob, especially his voice. Considering SpongeBob was already an adult in the earlier seasons of the show, it just didn't make any sense that his pitch changed in just one season. His voice went from this
Listen, I told you that I'm never leaving my house again.
to this.
Jumping jacks?
Aside from his squeaky voice, he also acts very strange and unnatural. So with everything we know so far, is it possible that SpongeBob died during the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? To answer that, let's address the hints pointing to that direction. Do you guys remember this scene?
Goofy! 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 Goofy!
It's sad, I know, just ask the pirates.
That's the end of SpongeBob! Come here, you!
I think in this scene, the writers are implying more than they're letting on. As soon as the Cyclops placed SpongeBob and Patrick under the lamp to mummify, they passed away. Rest in peace. I believe this scene is a bit too much for a kid's movie. Anyways, all of a sudden something very interesting happened. The last teardrop that SpongeBob and Patrick released before their death miraculously activated the sprinklers, causing this to happen.
Hey, we're alive!
They came back to life, right? I mean, it's very possible. We see gardeners revive dead plants, except sponges are no way in hell plants. They're animals like you and I. Once an animal dies, it never comes back to life. But then what exactly causes? Let me explain. This right here isn't SpongeBob. He may look, sound, and act like SpongeBob, but is indeed somebody else. My theory is that SpongeBob reproduced asexually through reaggregation as soon as the water touched the surface of his skin. This caused the birth of a brand new SpongeBob with some amount of memory embedded through epigenetics, which is when the environment causes mutations in genes for survival. That's right, most of the memory, emotions, and skills have been passed on to SpongeBob, which is why he maintains his character for the remainder of the film. But there is a slight problem. What about the fish, and the sharks, and the crabs? They clearly didn't reproduce asexually, right? That's where you're wrong. While asexual reproduction in sharks are rare occurrences, certain fish and crabs can indeed reproduce without a mate, which is often referred to as virgin birth. Virgin birth. So the fact that SpongeBob was killed in this scene is absolutely possible. But the underlying question is, why was he killed? It's time to reveal the truth. From what we have discussed in the beginning of the video, Steven Hillenburg has indeed intended to put an end to the SpongeBob SquarePants TV show, but we still don't know why. Considering SpongeBob is one of the most successful TV shows of all time, why would Steven Hillenburg put an end to a project that would potentially make him millions? It's a bit confusing to say the least, but Steven Hillenburg himself stated that he wanted SpongeBob SquarePants to have no more than 3 seasons to preserve the reputation of the show. And in the interview, he stated that he didn't want to sell the rights of SpongeBob SquarePants to Nickelodeon because he wanted SpongeBob SquarePants to be an adult show, and eventually ended up compromising if they added Mrs. Puff, which even I didn't know till now. I believe that Steven ended up regretting this decision since Nickelodeon took the creative control from him, which probably worried him because it would not align with his idea of what SpongeBob SquarePants is. Not only that, but media companies are known to milk entertainment to the absolute max and obtain profits, even if that means to drive the TV show down to the ground. It has happened to many TV shows and movies. Star Wars and Simpsons, I'm looking at you. Due to this fear, Steven decided to start the production of the movie for the intent of ending the TV show, and believe it or not, I speculate that Steven Hillenburg has attempted to end SpongeBob's life in many episodes before the debut of this movie. One episode in particular that always scared me as a child was I Had an Accident. This episode was notorious for its gorilla scene. It was a pretty creepy episode, and I've always thought it stood out from the rest. I believe that in this episode, Steven Hillenburg attempted to sneak in a storyline that would potentially end SpongeBob's life. Although the directors and writers in the opening scene are not Steven Hillenburg, perhaps he influenced them to make the storyline in a way where SpongeBob is killed just in case Nickelodeon agreed to his proposal. This is also seen in episodes such as The Strangler.
I finally got you all alone!
The Bully.
Hi, SpongeBob. I'm gonna kick your butt.
Shanghaied.
This whole crew for eternity thing isn't working out.
You're setting us free?
Well, actually, I'm just gonna eat you.
Hooky.
I'm so ashamed. I'm hooked.
And Frankendoodle.
You doodle. Me, SpongeBob.
You know what's nuts? The TV show might be secretly adding irony by reflecting the battle between Steven Hillenburg and the villains trying to end SpongeBob's life to terminate the show, and Nickelodeon and SpongeBob trying to survive the episode in order to save the show. I just think this was a clever way to express the thought architecture of the writers' minds. So we have two possible things that happened after season 3. Either SpongeBob has died in the 2004 movie during the mummification, giving birth to an entirely new sponge, or suffered a traumatic brain injury leaving him with permanent brain amnesia. Although the mummification theory sounds fun to consider, there are many flaws that weaken the theory. My main argument would be that if the events that happened during the SpongeBob movie hold true, then the show would not progress to season 4 because Steven Hillenburg's main intention of this movie was to end off the series, so the fact that Plankton used Plan Z and got arrested for good, Mr. Krabs created the Krusty Krab 2, and gave SpongeBob the managerial role, there would be no reason for SpongeBob SquarePants to happen. Let's look at direct proof in season 4 episodes. In The Fear of a Krabby Patty and literally every other episode, SpongeBob is not a manager. In fact, Squidward isn't a manager either. We also see Plankton up to no good in Krabs vs. Plankton. Clearly, he did not get arrested. And finally, the Krusty Krab 2 was never seen in any other episode after the movie. Debunked! It seems very possible that SpongeBob did suffer the brain injury in Season 3, Episode 8, Squilliam Returns. There isn't any strong counter-arguments about this theory. In fact, I will say that the only thing that was even somewhat valid was the fact that SpongeBob was normal right after Squilliam Returns. But upon searching the web, we countered the counter-argument. The fact that SpongeBob's brain literally caught on fire and snapped in half is enough proof to convince even Carl, who says extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And if this isn't extraordinary evidence, I don't know what is. In conclusion, SpongeBob was not replaced at all, but instead suffered a brain injury, leaving him mentally disabled for life. And according to Squidward, SpongeBob will only be good at fine dining and breathing. And that, my friends, is a strange case of the sponge that never returned mentally. Thanks for watching.